Right, boys and girls, we're back for the Mr. Arsenal podcast. Really, not on that beat, not going to be an upbeat show really, but we're going to try our best. I'm joined by James Wright. How you doing, James?
I'm fine. Good evening, fellas. How are you both?
I'm good.
Good.
Minus the result, of course.
Indeed. But it's just polar opposites, really. One team that play as a collective, fight for one another, and are happy when their fellow teammates do well. It's not all about them; it's about the team ethic. And we look like a group of individuals that are strangers, really. And until we sort our collective movement out and fight and will to win, it's looking a bit difficult at the minute.
Yeah, it's not ideal in it by any stretch of the imagination. I've been on the Emery out train for like how long? Watford, when we drew with them, like when I could just see that things weren't improving, and nothing's changed between then and now to make me change my mind. So I don't know. Do you know what the funny thing is, lads? I didn't expect to win today. Like, I kind of accepted that we would lose. Like, that's the sad thing, right? I even said that we could be getting a battering, like, tonight. You know what I mean? And first half, yeah, we did quite well. But one thing I noticed was we weren't pressing Leicester enough. We were allowing them too much spaces in between the lines. And admittedly, that was all, well, it was always going to, end one way with Leicester getting a goal. And that's exactly what happened. But what we didn't expect was the total capitulation inside 7 minutes. That really pissed me off. You know what I mean? Maddison just, honestly, it got to the point where the Leicester fans were doing the olays every time they were passing the ball. Like, come on, that's embarrassing.
Happens though, didn't it? It was a great finish from Maddison, but for me, that first goal basically summed up our defence. You've got Luiz diving in a penalty area. No, first and foremost, you've got Holding standing off, allowing the cross to come in. Then you've got David Luiz going to ground in his own 18-yard box. And then you've got Hector Bellerin walking forward, giving all that space for the ball to be played through to Vardy. It's as if that defence doesn't not trust their fellow defenders to do their job properly. And this is what I mean about a collective unit. It hasn't got to be dazzling, but it's got to be able to function properly. And Hector Bellerin, for example, is a right back. So you stay as a right back. Let your centre back do his job. The same as the left back and the same as the centre half. I'm not picking out any players. I'm just giving an example of that. And we need to get this collective business sorted out, really. And if you think of the midfield as well, with Guendouzi, Torreira was asking for a booking, and he was very lucky, not to be booked with his first two challenges. But you see Leicester. I mean, you look at Leicester's back line, right? Schmeichel, Pereira, Evans, Sonuku, and Ben Chilwell. Now, first and foremost, not only are they a great goalkeeper and four very good defenders, but there's also a natural balance in that back line. There's a left footer at left back. There's a right footer at right back, and they function as a unit together. We've got David Luiz as a centre back. He doesn't obviously feel comfortable playing centre back. He's more, I think, comfortable as a central defensive midfielder. But when you start playing him from the back as well, you're asking for trouble. I mean, everybody saw the capitulation of Brazil and Germany in the World Cup in 2014. He was playing centre back then. Some people have short memories, but it's the failure of the collective. And until we get that sorted, I mean, I saw Lacazette driving through. You've got Bellerin running at frantic pace to give him an outlet, and he didn't see him. Just went for his own success, if you like, in a very dangerous situation. 5 minutes later, when we're completely not threatening, he will give the ball to Bailey. It's a bit too late now, isn't it? So we really do need to get that settled collective, and that means a settled side, and that means maybe the same formation. I can understand Unai Emery trying to be flexible and trying to ask players to do certain things, but these players can't do certain things because the majority of them have been in a comfort zone for recent years. And it's very hard to knock someone out of their comfort zone when they've been in it for such a long time. And it's just disappointing, really. I mean, I thought Maddison's finish was a tremendous finish. But then you see the celebration as well. You see everybody going towards him. They're all happy. They're all pleased. When does that happen with us?
Never.
You know, when do we score team goals of like that ilk?
We used to.
No.
That goal was Arsenal of old, mate.
Yeah.
That was
A
Arsenal.
long time ago.
That goal was Arsenal of old, man. Like, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was like averse to Brendan Rodgers when Arsene Wenger left, because all I could think in my head was how his time at Liverpool ended, which is understandable. Now, I'd take him in a heartbeat, right? But is Brendan Rodgers going to leave Leicester? No. So again, we've missed the boat on that. Now, as far as what you were saying, James, about communication and stuff like that, but here's the thing, right? You talk about David Luiz, right? Not for nothing, I actually thought David Luiz was our best player today. And that says a lot. Like, when one of the players who was at fault for one of the goals is your best player. Ozil did quite well. Aubameyang and Lacazette.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the pair of them. But today, they were shocking. And the way it is now, communication between the defenders and stuff like that, all that's important. I'm not saying it's not. However, I would also argue that communication from the manager is just as important, because you hear these stories about, or you hear these like things like even the players have said this, that they can't understand Emery. That's a problem. If you can't understand the manager's instructions, how are you meant to execute what he wants? Like, there was a video I think it was either a month or a couple of weeks ago, where he's conducting a training session and he's just shouting, calm. I could not understand what he was saying. I thought he was saying come instead of calm. You know what I mean? But I couldn't understand the words he was saying for the life of me. And that is just as important communication-wise as communication is at the back. Because again, if you can't understand what your manager wants you to do, how are you meant to implement what he wants? Do you know what I mean? This is why I'm not. If we're going to go down the foreign coach role, right, with Luis Enrique or even Allegri, right? I don't even know if Allegri speaks English. I don't even know if we're looking at him. We should be, because he's not employed. But, you know, we need to have someone who, A, understands the language that the players speak. Because, again, if Allegri comes in and he doesn't know how to speak English, already that's going to present itself as a problem, because you're just going to have Unai Emery all over again. Now, if it were me, don't get me wrong, if Allegri wanted to join Arsenal, I'd take him. But the condition would be he'd have to take English lessons, just so he could communicate himself to the players. That would be a condition of employment that I would put into his contract.
But the thing with that, Colin, as well, as someone who's moved abroad and has learned a foreign language, as I've done, some people learn quicker than others, and people learn quicker to a higher level than others. As I said before we started recording tonight, for me, I think the answer lies closer to home. And for me, I would go if they do look to make a change, I would go for Chris Wilder. And the reasons why I would go for Chris Wilder is if you look in recent years what he's done, how many points the man's accumulated for teams he's took charge of and basically transformed them to the likes of his experience at Oxford and Northampton Town and what he's done to Sheffield United. I mean, I spoke to Richard Stearman last November when they were still in the Championship. And I asked him about Chris Wilder, and he said, I've never known anyone to stand up in front of a group of players and be able to motivate them, not just the starting 11, but also the whole squad. And I've watched his post-match and pre-match press conferences as well. And the way he talks, I remember when, I think it was after the West Ham game they had, and he said, we'll give anybody a game in this league. We're ready for anybody. And I was at Bramall Lane when they beat us, and they were so disciplined in terms of the positional play, and their heads don't drop. I mean, they went 1-0 down at home to away to Spurs today, and they come back to get a positive result. They're promoted last season, and they're currently 5th in the Premier League after only 12 games. And when I look at what he could offer us and what he could change things for the better. I mean, the older listeners and older viewers might know. Yes, George Graham was a former player of Arsenal, but George Graham, before he came to Arsenal, was manager of Millwall. And he was identified by the club, and we went on to have a period of league titles, cup success, even the European trophy. And as Colin rightly says about the language part of it, then the answer is closer to home, isn't it? The answer is closer to home. You could argue, I think Colin makes a very good point about the language skills of someone, but you could also lay that at the door of the person that's hiring that person to know, right, okay, it's not quite good enough, so therefore we're not going to take the risk. I really do firmly believe the answer is closer to home. And you think of the season now where top four is getting ever distant. And then you've got the vicious circle of players saying, players are not going to want to extend and we're going to lose these players. That may well be the case. But these players, when the chips are down, they also needed to perform. We didn't see these players tonight. We didn't see these players at Bramall Lane. We didn't see these players at Baku in the European final last season. So although Emery has made mistakes and it looks as if a change is going to be made, players also have to take responsibility. And I've seen Arsenal twice this season. I saw them at home to a very poor Standard Liège, I must say. And then going away to Sheffield United where, it was always going to be a tough environment, but they wanted it more. They really, really did. And I was behind the goal where the away fans were at Bramall Lane. And I saw at one point David Luiz pointing. Normally, if you're a defender playing at any level, you can verbally communicate with your teammates. I got so angry with him, I shouted out at one point, "What exactly are you pointing at? Surely you can open your mouth and cajole your centre half to get into a position." But it's a long old season, but it's looking a bit forlorn at the minute. And I think as well, this international break is going to feel like a very, very long international break, possibly the longest yet.
Do you know what? The way I see it, the international break might actually do us the world of good. Because nothing's worse than, having poor results and then having to go into the next game just on a downer. And I know no one wants to go into an international break on the back of a loss, but in my opinion, it would be more detrimental to the team to go into another game on the back of this loss. At least then there's like a break where they can kind of, reflect to an extent. right? But again, I go back to it. You know, Raul and that, they have to do what needs to be done. You know, Emery's not good enough. It's as simple as that. You know, you don't have to have ill will towards him. I don't hate him as a person. Like, that's just not where my mind would be, right? Do I hate him as a manager? Kinda, but not for personal reasons. Not for personal reasons, because his tactics, I can't work out what they are. That's why. That's why I can't work them out. He does something one week and then he changes it the next. And some might say, "Oh, but that's unpredictable." It's, you know, teams can't predict us. They don't know what we're going to do one week to the next. That's a problem. Because if you change what you do from one week to the next, the players aren't going to know either.
You're confusing the players.
How are you meant to implement anything if you change it every week? And this is what Gary Neville said when Unai Emery was kind of given the job. You know, he set out on a path of what he wanted to achieve, right? And within a couple of weeks, he changed his idea. And all of a sudden, the players got mixed messages. That should say all you need to know. That should say all you need to know. And the funny thing is, we're now in the position where, you know, it's similar to Man United under Jose last season. We all laughed at them. I did. I laughed at Man United fans. I even had a joke about it with my own brother. But now we're in the same position. Same position. Where any change is positive. And like Winston said in the chat, highlight that. Popped up, by the way. Yeah, if the message is clear, the language, then the language shouldn't be so much of a barrier. That's the problem, Winston. The message isn't clear. That's the problem. You know, because to put it in a different light, if you can't get your message across, like, how are the players meant to understand you? Like, seriously, am I the only one that sees this, or am I genuinely going mad? I don't know.
Obviously, we're on this topic. What would you think for when his tenure has been? The 5 captains getting the players to pick the captain this season, they change the tactics every game, they change a different formation every game.
It's just a mess.
Or literally rewarding certain players constant playtime no matter what, and then dropping your most creative,
Socrates and
technically gifted player.
I think as well.
But then also, he's dropping Ozil constantly. And now Pepe's getting the same treatment.
I think as well, Ryan. I've been watching his press conferences from when he was manager of Sevilla and Valencia, and it looks like a different bloke. And one thing I'm convinced of as well, if you think, you know, he won the Europa League 3 times in a row with Sevilla. If you look at the characters in that team and the will to win that team had, I think Emery thought to himself, "Oh, I can implement that at Arsenal. You know, maybe a 5-captain rule or different things. But we haven't got the characters and the will to win to implement such a thing." So I hope he's learned from that. And you know, it's strange because, you know, this time last year we was on a long unbeaten run, and you know, things were looking promising. We went on to reach a European final, but that was a bit of a letdown. And fast forward a year, and it's looking ominous. But it just goes to show how quickly things can change in football. And for me as well, Emery is not without his faults during his tenure, but players also have to take responsibility. When you've got world-class players such as Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Ozil, well, when we really needed them, for example, in Baku, were they there? No, they weren't. So this is all. It can't all just be down to Unai Emery. Players also have to take responsibility, and you hope that with a new manager in place in the future, that if a player is not winning, for example, if a player is not willing to extend his contract, then there's the door. You're not going to have another Ramsey situation. You're not going to have another Sanchez situation where players are basically they can rule the roost. And what we need now going forward is someone who's not going to entertain that, who's going to say, right, this is the way we do things. If you don't like it, there's the door. And it's going to be, it's still a long old season. We've got, we're running up into November and Christmas, and difficult. Everyone knows our fixture list over the Christmas period in particular, with the likes of Chelsea, Manchester City, and Manchester United on New Year's Day as well. A fair few games before then, of course. But things can change quickly. But as I said on the pod before, I've been supporting the club for more than 30 years. And, when I was a young kid, you had at board level the likes of David Dean, Peter Hillwood, Ken Fryer, Danny Fisman, who were not all just competent businessmen and directors, but also Arsenal fans. And I don't know if Vinay, Raul and Adu, I don't know if they are willing and if they can be completely ruthless. I mean, Raul, for example, was brought in from Barcelona. I'm not saying any detriment to the work that he's carried out or anything, but was he brought in to turn us into? Was he brought into the club to turn us into a Barcelona? I'm not so sure. Why was he picked along with others to come into the club? Surely there's qualities there that they must have seen. And as Colin said before we started on air with Sven Mislintat, now that appears to be forgotten about. He was once part of the club. So the current board level now have got some deep thinking to do. They really have, because it's about I can understand people getting at Emery, and obviously he's not without his faults, but this is a bit of a culmination of all parties, really, in my opinion. Not just the manager underestimating certain things, players not taking responsibility, and board level maybe thinking, okay, this is the start, we can see how things go. If you've got one common denominator for all top clubs, is that they all have their business sorted out at board level, and it streams down all the way to the bottom. In terms of Real Madrid and Barcelona and Bayern Munich and Ajax here in Amsterdam as well, you've got the likes of Overmars and Van der Sar at board level, and they, in particular, obviously being based here, I can tell you in particular, they take their work extremely seriously. And it's not just a case of their former players, they're now at Ajax. They take their work in particular very, very seriously. It's not just a case of former players anymore. So be interesting to see what the board come up with in the coming weeks, guys. As you know, I'm an hour ahead here, and time's ticking on. So it'll be short and sweet from me tonight, but great points from both, and great to speak to you.
Thank you, James.
I look forward to speaking to you both soon.
Same here, James. Same here.
Definitely. Thank you again, James.
No problem. Any speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Speak to you soon, lads.
Bye.
Colin, yeah, just touching on looking forward briefly. If he's not gone in is there any way he's not gone in the next 24 hours, considering last Monday just gone now?
He's not going to last the week. He's not going to last the week. He won't last the week. I'm saying,
because eight members of his staff were sacked on Monday. Does that lean towards he's definitely gone? Or do you think they're going to bottle it and help it out?
I liken this to Liverpool of 2015, right? Because if you remember, at the beginning of that season, right, what happened was Brendan Rodgers' coaches, Colin Pascoe and Mike Marshall, they were sacked, right? Now, what that does is the hierarchy have basically put a question mark against you, right? These are your coaching staff. You've chosen them. Are they good enough? Right? But Rodgers stayed at Liverpool at that time, and they gave him another trench of money, right? Now, while there are similarities to their situation back then and our situation now, there are key differences. First of all, it was academy coaches that were sacked in regards to us, right? But you have to think, are these academy coaches the ones that Unai Emery picked? Or
that's what's been reported.
Or were they there previously? That's not really been highlighted by any media yet, so we won't know that. Secondly, they gave Unai Emery a trench of money, just like Liverpool did Brendan Rodgers, right? And if you look at it, the timing is eerily similar. Rodgers was sacked in October. It's now mid-November, right? While there's while it's like a month apart, the timing is eerily similar because Brendan Rodgers was sacked with 8 games played. Do I see Unai Emery being sacked sooner rather than later? Yes, I do. In fact, I don't see him lasting the week. And the reason I say that is because reports have surfaced now that, the Arsenal have contacted Luis Enrique. But number one, is he ready? Is he mentally ready? And number two, does he want the job? Those are the 2 questions. But it's clear that Arsenal are looking for another head coach. So,
Winston just jumped in the chat as well.
Either way you look at it, it's
saying before Barcelona, Raul, yes. So he's for the long term in that sense, but go watch back his interview as well. How passionate he spoke about the project that he's putting in place since he's been given the role that he's now in after Ivan ran away. And put us in the crap, so to speak. That's just what I said. Ever since Raul came in, sort of ran off like a little girl. I couldn't believe it, honestly, because the guy. This is a guy that oversaw, arguably in our generation, the greatest footballing team of our generation in Barcelona, the Messis, Iniesta, Xavi. Pretty much,
he was in charge when Luis Suarez was brought in. He was in charge, right? Because when Luis Suarez was brought in, right,
and Neymar
to Barcelona, and Neymar, that was all Raul. He did that. He gave Luis Enrique, Suarez, and Neymar, and they won the treble. Like, Raul is
exactly
the type of guy that if he sees something that isn't quite clicking, he will act because ultimately it's his neck on the line.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. But I don't see Raul not acting. I don't. I think he will. I think Emery will be sacked sooner rather than later. I genuinely think that. And yes, Han, I would take Mourinho. I'd take anyone over this shit.
Do you think he'll be gone in the next 24 hours?
Possibly.
I think.
Possibly.
Honestly, if he ain't gone, I'll be shocked if he ain't gone by this time tomorrow.
He may be. It may happen within the next few hours.
It's an international break now.
Yeah. I think what Raul and that are going to be doing, they're going to be using the they'll use the international break. That's for damn sure. Like, I think what they'll do, they'll use the international break to find who they want. I think they have an idea of who they want anyway. But I think they'll use the international break to, sort out all the minor details, give Emery his compensation and whatnot, and that'll be that. Right? It's clear that Unai Emery will not be manager by the time the next game rolls around. That is clear. That is clear. Whether people want to dispute that or not, they can if they want. Truthfully, I don't care. I truly believe that we have to. I honestly, I believe we have to get this appointment right, because if we don't, we're facing another situation. We're steering down the Man United route right now. That's what we're doing. We're steering down the Man United route of appointing the wrong guy, and then appointing another one, potentially getting it wrong, and then appointing another one, potentially getting it wrong, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. We're staring down the abyss that is the Man United route. That's what we're doing, right?
What's the difference between Man United situation and us is that our board is football-minded men. Raul, as you said, this is Raul's neck on the line. He can't afford to get it wrong once, twice, three, four. But we've got to remember, as you said earlier, Ivan made the choice of this guy, Unai Emery. No one else had to say it in process, but he had the final say. All the candidates. If Emery is to go, which I hope so, Raul, Vinay, Edu, and Josh, this would be their coach of it, and then that's when it is their neck on the line, because they get it wrong, Raul could be out of a job, because at Man United it's just like merry-go-round, as you said. It's we hire someone else gets it wrong, but they're not footballing men. They're just there for the money. Whereas Barcelona, Raul at Barcelona, he's a footballing man. Edu, Brazilian, he's a footballing man. So I sort of have some faith that they will get it right. Yeah, exactly. And this is another thing that's got on my nerves this evening after the game. Tony Adams was on the Sky broadcast tonight, and he was giving his opinion on the players, basically digging them out, basically saying they're not doing.
He must have been tearing his hair out during the game. I tell you.
Oh no, yeah, he was literally. He said at one point he's watching David. He's not like David Luiz is doing what I would have done years ago. Oh, you mate, get back here. You mark that man. Da 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 da. They're not doing that, and but he was also saying, yes, man, yes, he's got to take responsibility. So the players as well. The players haven't stepped up. They're not stepping up.
No,
and he's getting, because he's saying them words, because he's attacking the players. The abuse he's getting online is absolutely disgusting. This is arguably in our living time, the greatest captain we've ever had.
Oh
League
my
titles
God!
In 3 decades. FA Cups, League Cups, a European Cup, and you want to dig him out?
Yep. No. Listen, if you're Tony Adams, right? If you're Tony Adams and you're watching that shit, right? You must have been tearing your hair out because, well,
yeah, he bleeds Arsenal in the day, no matter what anyone says about
Xhaka. Or what's left of it.
Tony Adams bleeds Arsenal.
Like, honestly, as a former captain, right? And honestly, at one point, you could even say one of the best centre-backs in world football at the time. Like, you're seeing our defending, right? And if you're Tony Adams, right, you're looking at this from a defensive point of view. Imagine being Tony Adams and watching that. Seriously. Like that I don't envy him in the slightest. I don't, because, and the thing is, Tony Adams has been saying this for years. Like, it's only when he's on Sky that people start to dig him out now. Like, it's like all of a sudden, all of a sudden, Tony Adams has said what he would say on, social media and stuff, right? Only on a more national scale. And all of a sudden, people want to dig him out. Nah, not having it. If this was Henry, I guarantee. And do you know what? It's similar, really, because if you look back, right, Man City at home, right, Henry was in the studio, right? Imagine being Henry and watching that. Henry was in the studio for the Liverpool game where we got spanked at Anfield in Wenger's last season. Imagine being Henry and watching that. These pundits who are former Arsenal players, right? Say what you like, but Henry, he's an Arsenal fan. Tony Adams is an Arsenal fan. Always will be to the day he's no longer walking this planet. Just imagine if that was any of us in the Sky Studio watching that. We've seen this shit for far too long. I'm sick and tired of the banter era. We thought it was going to end with Unai Emery. It hasn't. It's not worked. Ta-ta. My only question about Enrique, right, and again, Winston's pointed it out in the chat, is he mentally ready because of what happened to his daughter? Because she died of bone cancer and stuff. Is he mentally ready? If he is, and he wants the job, fair enough. I would take him. Because, quite frankly, he's a better manager than Unai Emery. With Unai Emery, I just don't see anything tangible. Even Mourinho's a better appointment, right? But in an ideal world, I'd rather not appoint Mourinho. Do you know what I mean? If we could avoid it, I would. But if we can't avoid it, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna shut off, Ryan, because I'm mentally exhausted out of just absolute pure dog shit. But I guess I'll just plug my shit. I'll just plug my shit before I go. If you want to follow me on Twitter at CMuch91,
definitely.
I'll do periscopes every now and then just to vent, especially with our current situation. It's giving you guys a laugh. I always get people telling me they're fucking hilarious. So by all means. And also, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, you can subscribe to Much Wrestling. I trust Ryan will put that in the description at some point. I have faith in you, bro. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but it'll happen. And if you want to subscribe to that, great. I'm working on another video now, so hopefully that won't be too long until that's released. But yeah, can't say Arsenal provided me with much excitement today because it's just all shit and nothing going for it.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Anyway, nice talking to you, Ryan, as always, and I'll catch you later, mate.
Yeah, and you. Cheers, Colin. And now we're just going to wrap up now. Basically, I'm shocked over my phone's not gone mad in the sense of I haven't got mad notifications saying it's gone already, this, that, and the other, but it is what it is. I'll be shocked if he's still in 24 hours' time. Oh, Sam's just joined, so not going to wrap up after all. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Yeah, you just missed Colin. He's had to go, and James had to leave as well because of his time difference. What were his thoughts on what the latest in the long line of a shit show that is Arsenal Football Club under Unai Emery? What's your first thoughts, initial thoughts, and we're clicking on to the other bits?
Well, if you saw my AFTV interview last week, it's what I've been saying since last week. Really, been talking about him being a small to mid club coach. For me, I said it before, he was a small to mid club coach. I thought maybe he would be a lot better than this, but he's a lot worse. It's not something that will fit into a big club. I mean, his days at PSG showed, he's not a big club coach. We're not a mid club. We're not a mid club either. We are a top club. What I'm starting to see is his overly pragmatic approaches are starting to run out. His ideas are starting to run out. He's not really favoured anymore, really, amongst the fans. People want him out. I want him out. Yeah. Sorry.
I think what you said about his ideas looks like they've run out. I think they've already run out because I don't know if did you watch the game on Sky today, Sam? Because Edu and Raul were both in the stands with the absolute face. Basically, as Colin said earlier, if looks could kill. Since the game's finished, about the first half hour of the game ending earlier on, reports have come out from journalists left, right, and centre that are close to Raul that he's been trying to get. He's in contact with Luis Enrique, and he tried pushing it on Wednesday. The meeting on Wednesday, board at the time wanted to give him until Christmas, but they now believe that the board's going to be fully on Raul's side and he'll be gone in the next 24 to 48 hours. But what do you think? Where do you think he? Because I asked the guys this earlier. Where do you think his downfall has been in his time at Arsenal? What do you think it's a combination of things? Was it captain situation? The fact that this season he's then scrapped that, but then made his players pick 5 captains, and from that he's decided who should be the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. His treatment of certain players, like Ozil, in the sense of most creative player, doesn't do what he wants, so he drops him. But there's other players that are making mistakes, like Socrates and David Luiz, that will make a mistake. They're going in a bit of bad form, but he'll let them play it out. And the treatment to Torreira as well, a CDM. And again, tonight, on the pitch, like only defensive-minded midfielder, yes, we're losing 2-0, but you're replacing him with a youngster. Even these substitutions are bizarre. The fact he waited until we went 2-0 down to make his first sub. It's like I've said last week, it's like he wants to be sacked. It's like he's pushing them to go, yeah, I want the payout, give me the payout, give me the payout. It's like, it's completely bizarre, but I do have, as I was saying to Colin just before you had to go, I have faith in our board compared to a Man United board, because he was comparing us to Man United in the sense of similar. We could go back and forth, like hire a manager, sack a manager because it doesn't work out, hire someone else. But I said the difference between our board and Man United's board, that we've got men in our board that are football men. In Raul, who's got all the years at Barcelona, Nike, etc., but he's a footballing man. And you can tell it by how he puts himself across in interviews and how he words things and expresses himself. We've also had Edu come on board as well.
I might need to interrupt you here for just 1 second. I've just seen this tweet by Heavy D. I don't know if it's true or not, because just heard from a very good source, Enrique, to be named Arsenal manager next week from Heavy D. Someone that I know just tweeted under him, "Don't be playing heavy," and he said, "I'm dead serious." So,
but trust me, if he's playing, he'll get fucking lynched. He's already one of the most unliked people on social media. So if he's doing this just for clicks, he'll get absolutely mauled at the next home game by the certain other people at AFT and all that. But what the hell is he playing at, this, that, and the other? I hope it's true. I hope it's true. Because you know what? We did touch on this before we came on. Because it's a bit of with Lewis Enrique. Yes, he's a better manager, coach, whatever, than what we've got. But there's that because of how he had to step down to look after his daughter from the Spain squad, from the national team, couldn't look after his daughter in the last days and all that, and then obviously since then she's passed away. Like Colin said, if he has to be mentally ready, because this is a sort of job. If you're not mentally there, if he's still grieving, that could affect him, and I don't want that to affect him because he seems like a good man. I really, as long as he's mentally ready, like Colin said, fantastic. Bring him on board. Let's do it. Because you know what, he'll utilise he will utilise our strengths, and Raul's worked with him before. Because again, Colin said before, Raul brought in Neymar, Suarez. And who was it? He said someone else, but basically, he gave Enrique a powerhouse sort of an attack, and they went on to win the Champions League. I'm not saying he could do it with Arsenal, but everyone bucks me off. But if we give him the weapons, he will use them. And the weaknesses we'll have in defence won't look as bad because we'll be scoring for fun going forward. Because we'll have Pepe getting utilised properly, Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Danny Ceballos. It'll be fantastic, and he'll be able to play in his actual fucking role. I mean, sorry, go on. What are your thoughts on that if that does happen, though?
How do I say this? Obviously, I feel down. I feel out. Watching this. Watching the team. But what I would do is give Enrique a short-term contract. Give him from now till the end of the season, see what he can do, and if he can get us into the Champions League, then what we'll do is we'll give him extra funds to do what the hell he wants to do, buy whoever he wants to buy, and left, right, centre, and then just make the club great again. And then over time, we'll do what we want to do. Over time, he'll probably help us challenge for a league title. People say, what he was Roma bust, didn't do well at Roma, he didn't do well at Celta Vigo. But you've got to understand at the end of the day, he might not have done well at those clubs, but with Barcelona, he won the Champions League. He won, he won the Copa del Rey with them. He won the La Liga title, and everyone thinks it's easy to win it with Barcelona. I mean, you've got the best club around. Look at Ernesto Valverde. He bought a 3-0 lead to Liverpool with Messi and Suarez on the side. Coutinho as well, Griezmann in this Barcelona team, and they've lost quite a few games. That's where they lost to Betis at home, but stuff like that really. So what's my honest opinion is that you have to be good to be a Barcelona coach. You just can't be anybody. You've got to be good to be a coach at Barcelona. And to be successful with Barcelona is a lot. You can't just think, it's all about the players, it's all about this, that, and the other. It's all about your tactics as well. The tactics are good, but
I think I don't know if sorry, Sam. I don't know if you've seen the video either. On I think it was Mo that put it out on his Twitter that he filmed. Obviously, at some point near the end of the match, in the last 20 minutes, the Leicester fans were chanting, "You're getting sacked in the." And as he's filming it, in patches of the Arsenal fans were chanting it back, were chanting along with it, and saying, joining in, like, yeah, he is getting sacked. You're getting sacked in the morning. Is that and again, as I said, Edu and Raul there, so isn't that damning, even more damning to the fact that they're there and they're then hearing that it's coming from our own fans. I mean, we've got, as Colin Colin's mentioned before, and you've mentioned, we've got no style. Even David, I was watching Soccer AM this one because David Seaman was on, and he said we've got no style, nothing about us, no identity since Emery's come in. Like, it's like he started implementing it, and it came in near the end of the first half of the season. He started changing things. That sends mixed messages to views, and he hasn't gone with it. That's the one thing Gary Neville said. That's the one thing you don't do because you're going to confuse the players, and then they just don't. If you try reverting back, that's it. You can't because you've lost them. You've lost all respect and everything. I think what's really ramped, in my opinion, what's really rammed it home in the last few weeks was how he's handled the Xhaka situation. And ever since that night, he's been asked, up till Wednesday, not Tuesday night, is Xhaka still part of the squad? Is he the captain still? Is he not? And he's just no matter what question they asked him, if he was captain or not still, he'll give 20 different answers that made no sense whatsoever. I personally think the board got involved because he was making a mockery of it all. And they themselves, the armband, they took it upon themselves to take the armband off Xhaka. And I also think it was them that said it had to be a fan favourite, i.e. Aubameyang had to be the new captain to get the fans back on board. I'm just beyond it. I'm watching the game tonight, and I was like, I'm an Arsenal fan. You're an Arsenal fan. It's bad games against not even Leicester. Any team, at any game, at any level. I mean, we're not expecting to win it ourselves. We don't expect our team to get the result. Everyone, the last international break, we went into that last international break. We were third, and everyone's like, "What are you complaining about? What are you complaining about?" But we're trying to say to everyone else, like, we go in week out, and we're seeing this X, Y, and Z, and that's come to in a few weeks. We're sick at the moment. If results go against us tomorrow for certain games, we could be lower. I mean, there's no better time for the board to act now, because if they don't act now, they'll wait a bit longer. You're putting a huge pressure on whoever you put huge pressure on them to get the upbeat straight away. Whereas as we've said, bring them in now. They've got 2 weeks to work with who's not going away international duty. The youth players, this, that, and the other, and start implement the styles, this, that, and the other. I mean, Stoke City, they've appointed Michael O'Neill from Northern Ireland, but to take up. And he literally came in yesterday morning. They've won today. What was it, 4-1? And now he's got 2 weeks now, where he'll be back and forth. But he's going to have his staff over here in Stoke start implementing what his philosophy is. And if this Enrique stuff is true, fantastic. And as Winston has alluded to about Emery, he failed on giving us a style and an identity, whereas Enrique would give us an identity back. He is, in some respects, similar to an early Wenger era, in the sense of he has the attack, he'll have the attack, and he came. What was it? He's managed against us, Barcelona, and they didn't have the old his weight, the end of his career, this, that, and the other. But they didn't have the best defence. But the attack, he utilised his strengths to make up for the weaknesses, and I think that's what he could do with Arsenal. We've got going forward. What do you think, though, Sam?
Well, I don't know what to think, really. This job transferring let me down so bad. I don't know if I should even speak about what goes
I
on in
mean,
the club.
do you have faith in our board to act now and not later?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I, in a sense.
I mean, if it was Ivan Gazidis, I'd have no to drag this out as long as he possibly could. But as I said before, Raul, more than anyone, because of his experience at Barcelona, he will act. He is, and as Colin said, it's his head on the block at the end of the day. If things go tits up,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we can't afford to go 4 years in Europa League because then if we don't get Champions League this year, but we're still saying fucking Europa League. We're officially then a proper, official Europa League club, fully official, and then we'll start losing we'll start losing Bamian, we'll start losing Lacazette, Gerrard will go because they want Champions League football. That's the whole point they're going to us to get us back into Champions League. If they're seeing no signs that that's going to be possible, we're going to lose them. We will end up like what Liverpool were before Klopp came along and Brendan Rodgers came. Before that, or more so before Klopp came along, and there was literally just hovering in and around 8th to 6th and hoping for the best sort of thing. But yeah, it is what it is. Did anyone any of our players stand out for you tonight in a positive sense?
I gotta admit, I've
Before
not
we wrap up,
I've not been a fan of Ozil, but he was young, winning the ball back. Lacazette was off the pace. 10 and well, not what am I saying? 10 equal. I mean,
that's that.
never mind. I can't be. Kolasinac wasn't that good today. No, Guendouzi's only 20, but he's improving the game with Bamian, etc. With Bamian's off the par. Rich says, I assure you we are going to recover, but I'm not sure if we will recover.
Yeah, I think it might wrap it up now. So, where can people find you, Sam? If don't follow you already.
Follow me on Instagram at SXMUDDXN. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put all the details in the description afterwards. Give me about half hour to sort things out, and I'll get all that in the description. To Winston and a few others that go in the chat tonight, cheers for that. Cheers for your comments, and thanks again for James and Colin earlier, and obviously Sam now. I don't know. After Arsenal left, that things would get better, but it's bizarrely got a lot worse. And the ironic thing is, things can so yeah, and just I'm saying, like, if we if it's if not sorry, I'll come in. I guess on you want next and yeah. After that, I'll sit on my mother, like stream I'm doing on Thursday night. I've mentioned that before. Basically, there's Trump's channels, seen other Arsenal YouTube channels. Own this, everything with us. Since very much going there, I was told I do this. And pretty much going. Yeah, still just ideas of it. It's a much better channel in some respects. It's more worldwide. Like, literally, the point where it was still fun as hell, and literally, word for word, over video. And other things as well. And other things that you've done well before that making a worse person. And the reason I'm doing this now is I sat on it, checking out no one trying to doing this side. It's because I'm happy here, and I'm Arsenal podcast channels and Arsenal YouTube channels in general. We're happy and to like relax. The Arsenal free time.